IHG Hotels and Resorts all-inclusive offering.
Morning, everybody. Happy New Year. Well, not quite yet, but almost. So, we're going to be doing a coffee house this morning, and I had a class there yesterday afternoon, by my good friend Maria. She was teaching me how to do urban sketching, and so went there to Urban Sketch, and I found this image, and I was going to sketch this, and I'm not a very good urban sketcher. I'm a pretty decent watercolorist, but urban sketching. Let me just show you where I came up. So I have a little bit different thinking on this. Is that when I urban sketch, this is more of a line drawing, and I'm trying to learn how to do a little bit more of a line drawing. And so instead, this is the way I think. I think with like when I went Newtan, and so as a watercolorist, this is the way I think. These two right here were my sketches. One looking one way, and this is the one I'm going to be doing this morning. As you can see, it's my picture right here, and and I actually added people that were there. I kind of put them in with Photoshop. I put them in because I took a bunch of pictures constantly. This guy sitting there at one time when he wasn't sitting there, and so when I first did this, nobody was there, and then little by little, I would just keep on taking pictures. And so I didn't do a great job at urban sketching, but I thought this is a great one to try to show you how to plein air paint without plein air painting in the studio. So this again, when you're there, I was just doing, and also we talked about this Mary Blair, I guess, from Disney. We're talking a little bit about Disney yesterday in class. I had a class yesterday morning, and we were talking a little bit about Disney and how Disney has taught me a lot. Watch a lot of those animated movies, and it's amazing. Some of the old ones like Snow White, and but Mary Blair was she was an artist in a lot of those movies. So look her up. Look at her work. It's really kind of neat. And she actually did some watercolors. I saw some watercolors. She did really, really cool stuff. Anyway, so this is what I'm doing today. That's my composition, and that was done there on the spot while having a a latte, a pistachio latte I had there. So at the coffee house. I could have gone in there this morning, maybe, but this is so much more comfortable, and I can actually show you what I'd be doing. Hey guys, hey Dave, hey Amy, James, and Pamela. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to, again, do what the values are, like in my sketch, in my Notan sketch. And for me to do the line work, in a way that it is kind of, what do you call it, a vignette where you don't go to the edges is really strange for me because I've always worked within a boundary. And so this is, 10 by 14. And so that will go right into a frame. So I'm kind of trying to do that right now is always work to a frame size. So always getting it into the frame size so I don't have to use a mat or glass. So the first thing I'm going to do is just do my lights. And so I'm just going to go in here. And I don't have to worry about this dark area, so I'll just go right over that. I'm just going to kind of do my light, which is the doorway. That's the light is right. And so I'm going to put a little blue back there. And go right into the floor. And if I were there, I'd be doing the same thing. I mean, I don't do that much difference from my studio. And then when I'm there, I just have a good setup where I'm sitting there and I can do the same thing I'm doing here. So I'm taking a little bit of light blue, knowing that it's going to lighten about 20% lighter. So don't be afraid of getting a little bit darker with it at first. And just putting a little bit of blue there, maybe a little bit of purple. There's a little bit of purple that goes from light blue to purple to this floor, which then will go through everything at first because I'm doing my lights. Happy New Year. Happy New Year, guys. It was really neat sitting right here looking both ways. This is one point perspective too. We were discussing one point perspective, and she was teaching me, Marie was teaching me how to, plein air paint, plein air. So lessons, and she took my class in the morning, and I was teaching her watercolor, and she was teaching me plein air. So we have a little bit of a trade-off. And so we're gonna put this in here and just make this darker as we go up. And again, lights first, lights to mediums to darks. And so that's what I'm doing, just doing my lights, getting my light washes in there, so I'm determining what the colors are too. That determines, that's step one. If you've been following me, you know that's what I do on every single painting. I do step one, which is the lights and the color scheme. So put a little bit of blue right here. This chair I'm going right through because the chair's going to be darker, so I don't have to worry about that. And I do want some reflections of them into the people right away. I'll put them reflected into the scene, which in the photo here, in the photo right here, I drew it a little bit differently because the chair is like they're almost standing on top of the chair. I moved them over, and I moved the chair this way a little bit. So, you know, those are things you do. Even if I were there, I would do that. And actually, if I were there, they wouldn't be standing there long enough for me to then, you know, put them in. I'd have to take and just put them in. So when it comes to people and putting people into your shot when you're plein air painting or urban sketching, I'm not sure. I'm still not an urban sketcher as per se, but I put those in there, and I usually take a photo really quickly, and then I look at my photograph so I can then place them into the scene, because they're not going to stand there for you. You know, they're not there. The guy sitting there could, yes, he could be there longer, but see, I'm just putting in their reflection right away. So that's where drawing comes in handy, learning how to draw from your imagination, which I'm writing a book right now, and I'm actually going to test a bunch of people. And so we're going to teach you how to memorize your scenes. And then that's what I did all my life with, as an illustrator, I would draw everything from my imagination. So I'm going to teach you guys how to work from your imagination and not have to look at something like the person. I could basically put anything in there. I don't have to have actually even have a person. I don't have to, though they were there, and I did take a shot, and so then I put them in later. All right, and then we're gonna go down here. Now the top of this chair is light, so let's make the color of the top of the chair right away. It's gonna be the light part of the top of the chair, right? This has a little bit of reflection in this chair because this chair is shiny, so it's going to reflect a little bit of what's in the floor or the sky behind there. That's all really light, and that's where you order the coffee in this part. Honey Hill Coffee Company, I think it was called, in Wakanda. It's in Wakanda, so if you want to go visit this coffee shop, it is in Wakanda. Great pistachio latte that I had. It was awesome. It was so good. Better than my coffee this morning. So cheers, guys. Cheers. This would be no different if I'm there doing it on the spot. I don't work that much different when I'm on the spot and I'm looking through my camera to figure out the no tan like I did. And also, remember, for anybody that just arrived, I did this sketch, and I did a little line sketch. This is more of the urban sketching, and then I actually did this first to see how I could just look at the no tan, the big lights and darks. You know, to me, that's number one, you know, importance after my drawing. You know, drawing and then figuring out your design. And this was looking the other way, and there was a door back here, and that wasn't bad either. That wasn't actually a good shot. I may even do that painting too, but not tonight, not today. So let's just get in here, get some more of this. Get some more of this darks down here. Now, I'm not going to do my middle tones yet. I'm still in my light phase, still doing my lights. That's this top of the chair, got my lights, and so that color I got to put somewhere else, and this wall is pretty much like that color. So, and not worrying about each individual picture that's on the wall. You cannot separate little things at first. You've got to put them together, and then later on, I can make things a little bit more different. But it won't be necessary to try to make them so much different from the rest of it. They're in my lights, and so I got to get my light washes in there. So just go over everything. And let's see, let's get a little bit more. I also don't want any white over here because I want my center of interest to have the only light right in here and maybe a little bit of that reflecting down here. But that's the only light I want. Everything else needs to be darker than that because that's what my no-tan says I have to do. And so the design of it and the value study, which we're going to be working on this coming week, we're going to start from the scratch, and I'm going to show you how to do a good value study. We're going to go back into doing value studies and also doing thumbnail sketches. Thumbnail sketches being, again, what this is. That's basically a thumbnail sketch of the design of the picture. It's not a value study is not about the drawing. This is not about how good it's drawn. This is about how you're going to be doing the painting, how it's going to be designed between the lights and the darks. This is about the drawing, and that's another thing. Urban sketches are about the drawing, and so making the drawing really, really nice. And I love the sketchbooks I see from a lot of artists who have some amazing sketchbooks, which I don't have a really good amazing sketchbook because I do a lot of this in my head. And so when I'm out there, I'm just painting a painting. I'm not doing a urban sketch, which is what I do want to learn. So that's what Maria's going to be teaching me. Right, Maria? Apricot scone was very delicious too. Yeah, Maria was morning, Maria. Thanks for the lesson. And so we're going to go in here now and just get. Now we're going to go right. That's my lights. My lights are pretty much done. So now I'm gonna go into my middle tones, my large middle tones to my darks. And this whole background here is going to be dark, but it goes from a light to a dark. And so you can see it in this room, it's going to be like lighter, and it goes to a dark. And I wet everything because the only part that needs to be hard edge is around the door. So I'm going to wait for that a little bit, but I can just put my middle tones in here. I can put tons of color in here. I'm not just going to use a brown like your photograph. See, the photograph is basically just really gray brown. I'm not going to do that. I'm going to put a bunch of colors in there. I'm just going to kind of get it floating and just get a bunch of all kinds of colors in there. Because I like darks that have a lot of colors in them. I'm going right over the pictures because this is looking really dark, but it's like a middle tone. I can get a much, much darker coming up. Let's put some blue over here, and I didn't wet it first. I'm wetting as I go along. It's called wetting as you go along. There's a little bit of light on his face, so I'm going to go around him a little bit. So now I'm wetting it, and it's a hard edge right there. I did put my cup of coffee, my pistachio latte I put in there, and I think I also had a brownie, or I think it was a kind of a brownie type of thing. That was really good. So we're going to put this in here, put some orange in there. And for those of you who want to try this, I know a lot of you like to try my paintings, even the harder ones like I do on Sunday mornings. What I'm going to do is let me just do that right away here. I'm going to take this photograph and make it really big for you so you can take a screenshot. Because they don't post these pictures. But this is the photograph I took, and I manipulated it with Photoshop, putting these people in there. But now you can take a screenshot of that, and if you want to try it, go ahead. There's the picture. I'll put it back down. Okay. And it'd be my guest. It's my photo, but I give you the right to do whatever you like with it. Just have fun with it. Learn how to do wet into wet washes. Learn everything I'm teaching right now. I don't mind you doing that. That's why I'm here on the internet, to show you guys and hopefully have you learn how to do watercolors. Ever since I've been in school, right out of school, I was teaching. I just love teaching other people how to do this stuff. I mean, it's so much fun. And seeing you guys get this year, I know a bunch of you started last year, right on day one, January 1st. And when we did the first, like we're going to be doing on next Thursday, they started, and we're going to start with one color. and now they're doing full color. And I know Katrina, she was one of them who had, started out the very first time and has done a lot of the paintings. And really, you can really see how much everybody's improved. And that to me is just amazing. And look at that big lighting I have on there. Oh man, I got to redo my. I'm actually kind of redoing my studio here, so I got to get this lighting right better. I'm doing a video for Legion Papers for Watercolor Live, for the Watercolor Live that Eric Rhodes does. So I'm doing a little ad type of thing for Legion for their paper. So I'm going to redo my whole studio so that I don't get any kind of reflections like that in there. Like right there, that's a bad reflection. You shouldn't be seeing that. But I've been moving stuff around, so let me just get this in here. Let's go right to... See, I'm not worrying about things. I'm not worrying about pictures. I'm not worrying about any of that stuff. I'm worrying about the big overall, medium light of that. And then I'm just going to go in here. There's a little bit of a part of the wall that changes directions. A little bit of an indent here. This chair will be a little bit darker, but the table itself is darker. And it's a color, so I can go with maybe some of that orange that right there. So that is also a place I can put that. I put a cup, I put my pistachio latte right there, only because it's just part of the story. It's not in the photo, but I know I had it and it was very good, so I decided to put it into the painting. And then this chair is just as dark as the table, but there's a little part that I could have put masking fluid, but I don't use masking fluid. I go around things. And so I'm just going around this and I'm going to put some more pigment in there. Let it float. The edge of the table that's right here will be shiny like the background. So that'll be a little bit different. I went right into my cup of coffee here now. Look at that. Well, the cup of coffee actually is going to be dark. It's going to be silhouetted because that's what would happen. And so I can do that later. This side of the table will be dark. Underneath the table is pretty dark underneath there too. So let's just do that right away. Make this dark. There's a chair leg right there. Bring it down. This side of the chair is also dark, so go right through that. There's a little bit of light through here, so but let's just go middle tone. Middle tone is good. Don't try to do small things. Go big areas, big areas. The bigger the area, the better. You can get a better looking wash and have more pigment floating in those areas. And let's make this a little bit cooler underneath here. And then the chair is dark. Negative paint this chair right at the top of the chair right away. This is a middle tone and it's just floating pigment. Look at that, just all floating. I don't want to get this chair yet. I'm gonna wait for that until later, the detail stage. This I can go middle tone. There's a shadow on the floor of this chair against the floor. So let's make it that just whatever color the floor is, just make it a little bit darker. And there's the shadow right away. And see how it's just one big wash? I'm not doing pieces. I'm doing the whole area. And that's basically the way I think. I think big areas, big lights and darks. It's just one of those things I've always learned how to do all the way through school. It was always about the value study, the value sketch, the notan. That is so important because that's what the painting is. All the painting is that. And so you have to follow that design that you did in the beginning. And this is a middle tone, so I don't have to worry. That's going to be darker. The chair's going to be darker, but that's the middle tone. The side of the wall is also darker here. And you know what color you want to use there, up to you. Use whatever color you want. I could have made this all bright pink. It could have been like all pink if I wanted to. It could be whatever color I want as long as I follow the values. I can make this thing anything I want. Any colors. I just have to look for the right values. And if I do use a certain color, I have to make sure I use it somewhere else, but that is important. But basically, I'm using colors I like. Orange is one I like. Purple is a color I like. I do the coffee mug here, or the coffee cup. So see how I got the feeling of the light already coming through? And that's by doing big areas. And that's where hyperrealists, when they just do parts of the picture, that's okay, but then you have to make sure that your photograph is really good. And actually, one of the things that Maria taught me was when I'm using my phone, put it in portrait mode, and then it blurs out the background. And I never knew that. And so thank you, Maria. That's how to get your backgrounds blurry, is put it in portrait mode. And then your background, she took a great shot of this, and this was all out of focus. And was like, wow, how do you do that? And that's awesome. Yes, for the colorful darks, how do you keep the wet dark washes from lifting? Well, I don't go over like this area now when it gets to a point where there's no more shine. Like you don't see the shine of the light anymore. So it's starting to get drier. So I cannot go into there because I'll be lifting it up. But while it's wet, I'm just putting more pigment in. So I don't worry about when it's wet because I'm just adding more pigment into this. And this area now is drying a little bit here, so I can't go into that area because if I do, then I'll lift it. And so because it's starting to dry, so always make sure it's nice and wet. So or put in more water like this, put more water or more pigment into it, so that you don't lift. You don't lift if you're putting more pigment into that wash. If it gets dry where you cannot, where it's going to make a watermark, then don't go in there. You don't. That's never. That's no man's land. Don't go in when it's damp. There's nothing you can do in a damp surface. You cannot go into that area. You have to wait for it to dry and then re-wet it if you want to do the again. And then once it's dry, it's going into the paper, so it won't lift up unless you scrub a little bit, and then it'll lift up perfectly. All right, so there's my big, large mediums, and now we're on our big darks. So let's get our big darks in there. And really, we don't have any really, really big darks. And the ones that are, like the chair here, that's a big dark, but there's also detail. So I'm just going to go right into, I'm going to wait for that to dry. Because again, right now it's at the damp stage, and dampness, you cannot go into those areas. You got to get away from going into damp areas, and just be patient. Let it dry, and then you can always re-wet the whole area. But you cannot go when it's damp because then you're going to pick up all the paint, and it's just not going to be great. And this down here, shadow is pretty hard, and so I'm just going to put a little bit more here. Here's a little bit of the shadow. And this could have been a little bit darker, but nothing I can do right now. And I don't like this hard edge here, so I'm just gonna see. This is damp, and see how I just lifted up? I just lifted up this stuff. So that's what I'm talking about. If it's damp and you put a wet brush, it's gonna lift up. So you always make sure it is either dry or you re-wet it with more water and pigment. More pigment doesn't lift up if you just put more pigment into that area that you re-wet. Basically, so you have to re-wet those areas. And that's what I'll probably do later when I do this part. I may wet it again, or I may just leave it. We'll see how I can get it darker. Let me just do the people right now because I have to wait for all this stuff to dry. So I'm just going to go right away and do the people. There's no specific thing that you have to do when it comes to the actual, like, you have to make all this dark. I could put detail in there right away if I want, but I have to make sure that I still get that big light and dark pattern. So how you do your, step 1, step 2, step 3, sometimes they all fall together as one. So it all depends on how you're working and how, is the air really damp and so nothing's drying and you have to maybe do something different because of that. And like when you're outside painting and sometimes it's really, really hot, then things are drying too fast. And you have to keep on wetting it, so you may do detail right away, or you may do a big area. But so it all depends on what you're doing and what you're painting. But as long as you have a little plan of attack, and it's step 1, step 2, step 3, my 3-step is usually the way I start, but it doesn't always fall into place exactly 1, 2, and 3. But it doesn't matter. You don't have to follow it to a T. Like again, there's times like I'm doing a big area. This is kind of detail. This is like should be the ending, right? But because it's like a big area of middle tone, I can still put that in there now. And be a little bit more careful like you're doing detail. And then keeping them kind of cool, with a little bit of warmth, but mostly cool colors because I want to push it back. And you notice even in the picture right here, the picture right there, look at how it's kind of like it's engulfed with a little bit of purple, blue. You can make that. That's almost kind of like optical scatter, where the sun a lot of times makes things really bright and yellow and stuff. Well, this can also happen with like blues and like because the light is so bright in here that it's blurring out things and it's making things look lighter than they are. It's almost like optical scatter, but not with the sun, but with just well, it's the sun. That's what's lighting this room, anyways. So here we put a little bit of flesh tone. And this is detail, but it's a big area, so I gotta go a little bit slower. Put in some hair. Any questions? After you are done setting up your studio, could you give us a walkthrough in upcoming video? I'm interested in seeing how you organize your studio and your lighting. Yep, I will do that. I definitely would do that. Right now, it is so messy, you wouldn't want to see it right now. But I do have one area that's kind of, I got cleaned up and I have room. And there's also a pinball machine right over there, but I'm going to have to get rid of that. So, yes, I will do that. I will definitely show you. Hopefully you can make it nice and so that will be no shadows on my thing, no reflections. And to do that, I have to spread out because it's been always that it's been really, really cramped in here because I have so much junk laying around. I do have a big tabletop that's 8 feet. This tabletop I'm working on here is 8 feet long and it's like 4 feet wide, or no, 3 feet wide this way. Let's see, my hand's this way. It's 3 feet and 8 feet this way. And so I'm just working on part of it, and the rest is just covered with all kinds of art supplies. And you know, like I said, even when I'm on doing plein air painting, I make it so that it's just like I'm in my studio. I use a palette like this. You know, I use a big palette. I have it so that it's not much different when it comes to how I paint. You know, of course you're doing it through an easel and, you know, that's different, but it's still, and a lot of times I work upright instead of flat like this. This is flat, but I've learned how to do both ways, and so that is just something I do. So isn't this fun? Look at the people in there. And I didn't make them as dark as in the photo. I'm pushing them back a little bit, making them a little bit lighter. And then this back here too, I'm going to do some really light gray blues. I'm going to do like the doorway back here. There's a little doorway. I'm going to try to make that little, just light little lines. Just to show a little bit of what's happening in there. I don't have to make it too detailed. So we can go here. See, it just gives a little bit of the 1 point perspective, a little bit, and it's going back. I can make her hair a little bit brown. Actually, I should make it orange, right? I gotta make it orange. A little bit of orange in her hair. And so that's a big area. It's nothing, you know. And then there's a strap that's on her. Let's just put a little bit of a strap right there for her purse. Hand. He was actually looking at me when I took the picture, and so he didn't give me the best look. He's like, "Why are you taking my picture?" But all this artwork on this place, if you ever go to Wakanda and you come to this, what did I say? It was Honey Hill Coffee House. if you go there, they have a bunch of work on the wall, a bunch of artwork from, I think, a lot of the artists from like Lake Zurich, Main Street, and really nice stuff. Really nice stuff. Some student stuff, I think, too. All right, so there's my middle tones, all my big middle tones. Now, let's go to those dark, those large darks now, and then of course finally will be the details. So that I know that looked very detailed, but it was still a big medium and a dark, and so I still have to put the reflection into the floor a little bit here, because it's like it's a shiny floor, right? And so it's nice and clean, the floor, and so it's shiny, and you'll get that shadows. Those are shadows and reflections at the same time. Happy New Year, Deborah, Amy. Okay, let's see. So what's the big dark? Let me see. Let's use some purple. Use some dark purple, some dark blue, Prussian blue, permanent violet, maybe some black, some Mizalone brown, and then this chair. I'm just going to start going really dark here. So there are 4 different colors in this, and once I wet it, I will even put more color in there. And so what I said, permanent violet, a Mizalone brown, that's kind of a purpley brown. And also this chair was flat across, but I'm making it a little bit angled, like it's rounded. I think most chairs are a little bit more rounded, more comfortable. And so that's just me. I change things up. I don't have to make it look exactly like what's there at the place. And so this makes it come forward, right? It looks like it's way in front. It's silhouetted. I'm making the chair a little bit on an angle here. Like it's curved for your back. Which it isn't. Like you can see in the picture, it's straight, but that's boring for me. I'd rather have it a little angled. And then this I'm gonna start out with like more of a, let's go with more of a red in the front here. And then have it go darker as it goes back. I can put all kinds of colors in here. It doesn't matter what color you use, just make it dark. And float your pigment. You know how that is. I want you to float your pigment. Now this chair here was pretty bright, and I could do the edges, but I'll do that with details. And that little triangle in the corner really is not important, so let's just fill that in. We don't want to show that. We don't want to have a distinctive triangle in the corner. Now this chair itself too here is a dark, and also this chair behind here has a dark top on it. Let's make it a little bit orange here. So if I drew it right, I think this is part of the chair. I can't touch the wall of this because that'll be soft edge then. I should wait till the details for that, but oh well. Let's just go in there and get it done. How much time do we have? Oh, only half hour. We'll get it done. This nice dark through here. This coffee mug can have a nice shadow on it from the doorway. Now this chair, let's put the chair in there, and so let's make the tabletop and everything kind of coordinated with like maybe an orangey red. Like that way it looks very nice. Like that's their design back there, which they just really have all kinds of different tables and chairs back there. Really kind of eclectic, it's a neat little coffee house. Let's do this red here. And again, this is my center of interest, so what do you put in your center of interest? Your lightest light, your darkest darks, your most details, your most hard edges, Your most contrast is what goes into your center of interest. And a lot of times people is a good thing to put in there too, because it's the first thing you're going to see. If you do put people in there, you just automatically look at people in your picture. It's just something that automatically happens. Now there, I'm just going to wipe that off there. It's too wet, and so I'm not getting a hard edge right there. I'm just going to wipe that off until it gets dark, dry, I mean, until it gets dry. And here I'm going dark with the chair. And I'm going to put some color in there, let it just float in there, dark, and just let it float. Learn to float your pigment and let it soften itself. The hard edges on the outside is that's happening automatically because it's wet and dry. That's how you get a dry, hard edge is dry. So that's dry right now, and the rest is wet, and that's where you get the soft edges. Look what happened here. That's still damp. And see what I talk about when you're doing dampness? You can't do dampness because it'll pick it up or it'll give you these little marks. And so that I went in there too fast when it wasn't dry enough. But easily fixable. Everything's fixable. You can always go back in and fix it up. Make this nice and dark. And see, there's a little edge right here that's lit up because it's like shiny. This chair is shiny. So it's picking up the light right here. And so what I'll do is I'll first get this, I'll clean up this area again. So I'll re-wet it. I'll re-wet this area, redo my, just have to do the whole area. I just can't do parts of it. So I'm just going to re-wet this whole area here. And I'll get my details later. And at the same time, why don't I do a little bit, I shouldn't do that. Oh, why not? Let's wet this area a little bit here and make this a little bit darker. I'm not touching the chair because if I do that, then I'm in big trouble. I just want to make this a little bit darker down here. So let's put a little bit in there. See how you can re-wet an area? As long as you have this certain spot, and then let the pigment float again. Now I touch the chair, so we're going to get some soft edges there. But we can always darken and harden them. Hardening an edge is easy. You just wait till it's dry, and you put it back in. And really how important it is if there's some soft edges down here, that's great because I want my eye to go into this area, right? That's my center of interest, this whole area. The cup, the guy, and those people, that's the center of interest, all of them. That's all part of the center of interest. And now we're pretty much at detail stage, and so let's just get in there and get our details. I'll let that dry, and I'll get some more details in there too. But this chair is actually darker on this side where it's shadowed. It's not as dark as the chair in front of it, so I'm just going to go right through that and then bring that in later. I'll bring that up again. And I'm getting a little bit more detailed now, so I'm going in, I'm getting more little things, little areas, really working small areas. The guy himself in this part is a little bit darker. Going around this part of the table, going around my coffee cup. And then there's a frame around the door, and for that I'm just going to take my, actually I could use one of, remember I showed you guys that one in the carousel? I had this, to make a straight line, you can use this. Here it is. I can just put this here. How am I going to do this? How am I going to hold this? So I'm just going to line this up right here. It's just at the dollar store, it's a scraper at the Dollar Tree. I bought this. It's just a little straight edge. It's like a scraper in the hardware department and I'm just going to lay it straight down. Yeah, nice straight edge. $1.25 for that thing. See, it's just that. It's just this little thing. I use it. It's for like, a scraper, and it's awesome. I think it's like, always put, when you want to do like straight lines, you can just use that. Or you can use a ruler, like a certain ruler, you can use that too. Normally I don't even do that. I just, I eyeball it with my hand. and I just go in there and do it like I just did here. Then there's some pictures on the wall. Let's just do a little bit of red here. This is actually a shelf, but and there's a garbage can right here, which I took out. I don't need to put a garbage can into the picture scene. It's not that important that you have to make a garbage can look good. So I'm just going to make it a wall, part of the wall here. And yeah, people sometimes think that you have to put everything exactly what it is in the thing, but you know, things like garbage cans, you don't have to put them in if you don't want to. You can if you like, but I don't feel that's like the most important thing to put in. Now let's get some darks through here. This part of the wall can be a little bit darker. Let's get that a little bit, that's a little bit too bright a color. Let's dull this down a little bit here. Go right into the chair that's back here. Oh, was that still wet? Uh-oh. That's probably not good. This is just the wainscoting on the wall. Bring it down here. All right, so everything's wet. Now, how much more time do we have? Not too much, but we get enough. So this is just dark. I'm not sure what this is all underneath here. I may have to use my hair dryer. I think things pushed along a little bit here. Because one thing you don't want to do is push, like when you're painting yourself in your studio, you know, let things dry. It's so important to let things dry. Now, a lot of times I don't let them dry because I have to do it in an hour, but you can let it dry. Just let things dry and come back later. And actually, it's a good time to go and get your, you know, your drink refreshed or microwave it again or do whatever you have to do. While this is dry over here, let's just do our pictures. And Alvaro Castanet, he always does these little lines, and they're really kind of neat. I like to make them a little bit more, you know, a little bit more. He has like a style of putting pictures in cafes, and he does a lot of those cafe pictures. He just does the 4 lines, and puts a little, like a big mat on them. I like to do the whole thing a little bit, like I'll do the whole picture. And then I'll just put different colors in there later. I don't put the actual picture in there, like I'm not gonna start painting in there. Unless it was really, really detailed, then maybe I go in there, but I'm just gonna get the framework pretty much. Let's put some color in here. You can also pick up color that you use elsewhere. I know Seiko had a couple pictures out there in this area. She's an artist. I don't know if you've seen her online. And she has some great abstract, but she had some pastel work that she did out there that were just amazing. I never knew she did pastel work, but she had some beautiful, beautiful paintings out there. Amy, what are your 4 pigments going down on the left side? This side I have, this is light red, which is kind of a burnt orange. This one right here is burnt orange. It's called light red from Holbein. This is Scarlet Lake. This is Scarlet Lake. This is brilliant orange. This is permanent yellow orange. This is Hansa yellow. Opera, brilliant pink. What's the other pink I use? Shell pink. And jaune number 4. That's the whole side there. I think that's the side you were asking about. Oh, about the yeah, I totally forgot about sending your brushes to Brussels. I have to go to the I have to go to the post office and see how much it costs, because I think it was, I haven't had a chance to get there and bring a bunch of brushes in an envelope to see how much it was cost. I'm still going to do that. Sorry about that. I know it's been a while. I've just been really busy, but I will. I'm going to see what it costs to send those brushes to Brussels. Happy New Year. Thank you. Chilly in Tampa Bay. Uh-oh. Amy, you sign up for the Montreat. Oh, that's so much fun. You're gonna love it there. That's a super fun night, fun time, and Canuga. It's my favorite place to go. I go there every year, even when I'm not teaching. I go there to Montreat in North Carolina. It's near Asheville. It's not too far from Asheville. And this year I'm going to that area twice because I am going to go for the Plein Air Fest in the Smoky Mountains. I'm going to be there also. So if you're going to that, I'll see you there too. And that's the Plein Air with Eric Rhodes. So I'm not going to see on the color on the wall, there's like really a light blue here, but there's nowhere else. So I would never do that. I'm not going to put a color over here that's different from everything else. If I do that, then you're going to look over here. And so I'm going to keep those colors with what colors I already have in the picture. I know it's a dog. That's a dog picture right there. But you can do that if you like, if you'd like. I tried to make things over here look like they belong. You know, I don't want to make them so different also that they stand out. And you look at all this little messiness I've been doing here. It still looks pretty kind of neat. Even though it's messy, it kind of just floats together. I kind of like that. And I'm going to rub out, this is still all wet here, but I'm going to rub out this light right here because that's reflecting this, the chair is reflecting from this doorway. And it's shiny chair, so I'm just going to rub this out here a little bit. See, all I do is tickle it. I tickle with a dry brush, or with a damp brush. And see, I'm just going to put that in there a little bit. I'm going to rub it a little bit. Not rub, tickle. Because you don't want to scrub. No scrubbing. You don't need to scrub it because that's going to ruin the paper. But just lightly brushing it with water, tickling it is enough to get the pigment loose and make this part light again. It absorbs the pigment. And anything else? And then the chair itself, maybe I'm going to have a little light on the metal leg here. Just going to pull a little bit of that paint out. What is this? Oh, that's the chair right here. So that's going to be dark, hard-edged. Once it's dry, it's still all really wet down here, so I can't do anything. Here's a droplet of water I put on there, and that's not good, but oh well. Now, one more picture up here. One more painting up in the corner here. I'm glad you're watching, and I'm glad you're learning, guys. I really am. So thanks for always coming by and watching. And Mary Beth is going to be at the Plein Air event. I'll see you there then too. That's fun. That is a fun time. All those things are fun. I mean, when you're with thousands of not thousands. Well, there you are. There's almost 1,000 people at the Plein Air event. But like Canuga is maybe 300 people, 300 artists. Anytime you put like 200, 300 people together who are all artists, it's going to be a fun time. It always is. How much more time do we have here? Not too much, but we got enough. So let's get this guy in here now and put the guy in there. Look at this beautiful wash I got down here that crept in there. I love stuff with that. Stuff like that happens. You know, it's neat letting things get messy sometimes and let the watercolor do its thing, getting those little fingers and such. As long as you put down water, it always works out. Now this guy's gonna be a little bit tighter and he's on his phone. So I'll put this little iPhone there. Start with the little iPhone. And his hand, there's his phone. And then I'm gonna do his little hand holding it. And then we're going to do his other hand who's pointing to something or probably, you know, pressing buttons on his phone. And the light of his phone it's kind of a dark corner. And so it's probably the light of the phone that's actually lighting up his face. Bobby, yes, I always wear gloves only for a couple, like 3 reasons. One is that it protects my hands. One, I have ugly looking hands, and also to it helps for my camera. The camera then knows where to focus. It keeps it focused. when I have everything light, like if you put when I put something really dark here, it lightens everything up, right? See, like the camera lights things up, and also having something black makes it lighter, the background, and so that's why I use one of the reasons. And it looks cool when I do the fast speeding because then like you can actually see my hand. It's contrasty to the rest of the painting. And so coming up now in the new year, if you don't get my newsletter, maybe sign up for my newsletter or just check my website and you'll see what I'll be painting. We're going to start out next week with one color. We just do one. We start out with one color, and we're going to be working a lot about value studies, about designing. We're going to get right back into one color and doing your no-tan and getting everything designed before you start painting. And it's important to do that. And so that's what we're going to start out with. And so you don't even need a lot of colors. You need one. You can also, when I say one color, that also means that you can use black and white to lighten that color or darken that color. I don't mind that. That's part of the game that I play. Is that you can use and all that. Even when we do 2-color, 3-color, because the following week we do 2-color. Then the following week after that we do 3-color. Then we do go back to full color. So that's what we'll be doing in the next 3 weeks. Next month we're going to start from the get-go. Start from the beginning. I'm going to talk a little bit about some of the materials I use again. And some of the new materials I use. There's going to be some new materials coming up. And different brushes. I'm actually trying to get all the brushes that Holbein sells. So that there's even filberts and all kinds of different kind of things. So there's his face, or there's his body. Now let's do a little bit of his face. And basically all I'm going to do is just do a little side just to see that you see the darks of it on the eyes, underneath his nose, and then his mouth a little bit. And it's not that detailed. It's just it's a suggestion of the hand and the face. Now on the wall behind him is also a little bit darker. This part is a little bit darker because it kind of cuts in, which you don't really have to put in, but hey, why not? And I'm going to put a can light up here. I know because it's kind of boring and dull up here. So I'm going to put a can light in. And how do I do that? I'm just going to like rub a little bit and just put a little light up there. Even though there's not one there, maybe that'll suggest to them that they should lighten up the little part of the back there for him, for the guy. I should have put his coffee right there too. That would be kind of fun. These coffees have black lids on them, and so I make that a little bit darker. And since when I look at something, I memorize it, and that's what my book is going to be about, is you memorizing what you're drawing. And it's really important when it comes to like being able to draw from your imagination, is that you're memorizing objects, you're memorizing the shape of things. And that's how I learned when I was an illustrator, is I had to learn how to draw anything and anything that somebody told me that I had to draw. So you just look at things and memorize them, and memorize the look of the big parts of them. Nothing about the small, you just worry about the big parts. Now this chair goes all the way to here, which wouldn't look right. Oh well. I have a pencil line in there now that's too far over, but I won't make it anyways. Yes, Maria, thanks for reminding everybody. If you hit the like button, that'd be awesome. If you like it. If you don't like it, you can put the down button too, because either way, I'd rather you hit the like button, but even the dislike button actually brings people in. It's kind of weird. I read that about that even the not liking button that means people are engaged. is what we want. We want people engaged in the video. And so if you like or dislike it, just let me know. I'd rather you like it, but if you dislike it, then let me know why too, so I can change things if it is something bad. I'm hoping my volume is high enough. I've got the thing right here. The microphone's right in front of my ears right there. So it's pretty close. I can't get much louder than that. I'm hoping it's loud enough. I upped it a little bit, and if it isn't, let me know. I'm going to see what I can do. Okay, here, I'm putting these darks in here. Here's a chair leg. See all the little details I'm putting in now? Just little details here and there. And, you know, look at that, how that little can light, how that helps a little bit. Just a little can light. And this, I've made a droplet here, so I'm going to put another one right here, just because I put a little droplet there. And I'll put him above him, a little can light. I will put this, make this more of a framing here. Take that out because that was solid. And the last thing I think I'm going to do is make her a little bit more detail in here, just so that it's more detailed. Just so that you look up there, it's the center of interest, so I can put a little bit more detail there. Another thing I'd ask you, I am looking for ideas. You know, anytime you feel that I haven't taught something or a subject matter that I haven't ever gone over, let me know. I think I've covered a lot of things, but I never know. And then also, if you're in Florida in January, the last 2 weeks in January, I'm at two places. I'm at the Villages and I'm at the Volano Beach near St. Augustine. And I'll be there the 29th, 30th, and 31st. And that you can sign up on my website. There's a page where it says all the things. You just click on that link, and actually you can sign up there right there for the St. Augustine one. The one for the Villages, that you have to sign up on their website. But you can sign up there also. I have a link to it. And the last thing I'm going to do is put the lines in the floor. You know, it sounds funny, but the lines in the floor here are really important because it shows the one-point perspective. And it just shows the one-point perspective, and it shows distance, and it shows a little bit of little lines in there. Just helps out just slightly. You don't want to make them really dark, just enough to kind of show perspective. Lines going across. And this shadow can be just slightly darker down here again. Like I said, I was going to do that, and then we're done. Just about time. 2 minutes left. Oh, I said I wanted to do this part too, didn't I? The edge of the chair and the back of the chair. I'll make that a little bit darker. And then this a little bit darker, and then we're done. And I have a great New Year's tonight. Hope you're going to be in a nice place. Watch some fireworks. And get ready for next year. Get ready for next year, and we're going to have some fun painting. Let's learn a lot. Let's all learn a bunch of stuff. I'm going to learn some from Maria. I'm going to learn how to what do you call it? Urban sketch. Maybe be a better urban sketcher. Not so much a watercolorist all the time or a plein air painter. I can also be maybe an urban sketcher. It's really kind of cool. If you look at some of the urban sketchers' sketchbooks, they're really awesome. I want to have a sketchbook by the end of the year. One of my goals is to have a nice sketchbook. All right, one more thing here. The side of this table is a little bit light right here. And I think that's it, guys. I think we're good. Thanks, Dave. Thanks for the compliment. Thanks for watching, guys. And have a great New Year's. Amy Weaver teaches Thursday nights at 6:30 probably at Patsy at the Villages. All right, we'll see you guys. Have a great New Year Eve tonight, and we'll see you on Thursday, and next Thursday with one color. All right, thanks again, guys. Bye bye.